I, I did not keep up with the Kardashians. Are we sure that isn't Donald Trump in a Caitlyn Jenner wig? Because, I mean, look at this. The resemblance is uncanny. They've got all the same kind of moves.
Jimmy Kimmel taking a shot at Caitlyn Jenner last week. The left's support of the LGBT community seems to go out the window when it doesn't suit their left-wing agenda. Here to discuss, Daily Wire's Michael Knowles, host of The Michael Knowles Show and author of Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. Sir, welcome back. Glad to have you as always. Jenner fired back at Kimmel, tweeting, "Being woke must be optional if you're a Democrat." Another day, another woke double standard, eh?
Oh, well, of course, if the Democrats didn't have double standards, they would have no standards at all. And Caitlyn Jenner makes a very important point here, which is that there won't be any consequences for Jimmy Kimmel. And I know that conservatives are rallying to the side of Caitlyn or Bruce or some, it's very confusing what we call this guy now, and they're attacking Jimmy Kimmel for it. But I think we have to be very careful here not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The fear of the Caitlyn Jenner candidacy has always been that it would mainstream transgenderism within the Republican Party and the conservative movement, and you are seeing that happen. Caitlyn Jenner is very upset here because Jimmy Kimmel said that trans women aren't really women, they're just men in wigs. And the fact is, that is true. There is no such category as trans woman. There are men who very much desire to be women or who think that they're women, but they're not. It is simply a biological and natural fact. It cannot happen. And so I just think this is a precursor of the confusion that you're going to get from a Caitlyn Jenner candidacy for governor. And we're very soon going to end up in a position where Republicans are claiming that Democrats are the real transphobes or something like that. Well, then the question is, what really are we conserving?
Well, yeah, exactly. And I'm more concerned with the double standards, holding the other side to their impossible standards. And speaking of which, Senator Chuck Schumer called children with disabilities retarded during a podcast interview on Sunday. Later, his spokesperson apologized. Now, if any conservative, you and I know this, any conservative had done this, or a Republican official for that matter, they would have said this. They would be skewered. Even if they apologized. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how to beat left-wing double standards. Do you have any ideas?
Well, this is actually very similar to the issue, which is what Chuck Schumer said, I don't think was said in malice. I don't think he was trying to demean people. There's nothing intrinsically offensive about the word retarded. It just means slow. But the PC police have decided that that word is now absolutely unacceptable, and the word changes every some years. And the imposition of the new words is really the point of political correctness, which happens to be the topic of my upcoming book. And I have to tell you, when the left gets eaten in their own way, whether it's Jimmy Kimmel or whether it's Chuck Schumer, there's something really delicious about that, because you do want people to be held to their own standards, even if their standards are preposterous.
See, and that's it. See, that's my whole point, is that they never are held, and that's how you started off the conversation. Kimmel's not going to be held accountable. Neither will Chuck Schumer. He won't be held accountable because they have liberal privilege. And that's how we all know there's just a mechanism for them to win political battles, and it's been the same throughout history. Let me expand our conversation. Bibi Netanyahu calling out the Biden administration during his final speech as Israel's prime minister. He said the prime minister of Israel needs to be able to say no to the president of the United States on issues that threaten our existence. Michael, you couple that with the antics of the anti-Semitic squad here at home and Biden's push to finish Obama's work to make sure Iran gets nukes. Bibi has good reason to be concerned, no?
Well, of course. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation. It's something that is going to be totally erased from the history books, and the media will never give President Trump credit for this. But under the leadership of President Trump, and obviously under the Israeli leadership of Bibi Netanyahu, you saw unbelievable progress made for peace in that region. A doubling of Arab states that recognize Israel as a nation and normalize relations. You saw relative peace in the region. And then Joe Biden has been in office for, 120 days? And I'll tell you, he promised us a return to normal. I guess we are getting a return to normal. We're getting an empowered Iran. We're getting more conflict in Israel. And we're getting less stability in the Middle East. Well, that's too bad. I don't like returning to that kind of normal.
No kidding. Nickelodeon's ratings crashing after playing their LGBTQ campaign for Pride Month. Do you think that people are just getting tired of being force-fed the woke agenda?
People are certainly tired of it, but the fact is Nickelodeon's ratings were plummeting anyway because nobody is tuning into cable anymore because there are alternative media sources now. This is what big tech is so worried about. The gatekeepers are not having much effect on TV, so there need to be new gatekeepers against conservatives in big tech. The problem is, though, it's the whole theme that we've been talking about. There won't be any consequences here. Nickelodeon is not going to back down. They've actually doubled down on their woke craziness for Pride Month, and they might keep losing their viewers, but the liberal establishment, I think, is still going to keep pumping it out through the TVs.
Do you have a working title for that book coming up?
Oh, you know, this old thing, it's also known as Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds, coming up very soon.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for it. I look forward to having you on to talk about it, buddy. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.